The sky turned an ominous shade of red as the massive alien ships descended upon Earth. It was a sight that humanity had both feared and anticipated for centuries. The day of first contact had arrived, but it was far from the peaceful meeting many had hoped for. Commander Zarkon stood tall and proud on the bridge of his flagship. His blue, scaly skin shimmered under the harsh lights of the control room. He looked down at the blue and green planet below with a mixture of contempt and amusement. To him and his race, the Zarkonian elite, this was nothing more than a simple conquest, a mere footnote in their glorious history of galactic domination. Primitive creatures, Zarkon sneered, his voice a deep, guttural sound that sent shivers down the spines of his crew. They still used fossil fuels and fight among themselves. This will be easier than taking candy from a Gloop child. His second-in-command, a slightly smaller but no less intimidating alien named Vexilor, nodded in agreement. Our scans show their most advanced weapons are nuclear. They pose no threat to our quantum shields. Zarkon's laugh echoed through the ship. Nuclear? How quaint. Prepare the invasion force. I want this planet under our control by the end of their solar day. As the alien armada spread across the globe, humanity's response was as chaotic as it was futile. Military bases scrambled jets, only to watch them be swatted out of the sky like flies. Nuclear missiles were launched in desperation, but they exploded harmlessly against the invaders' shields. In a small research facility nestled in the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the unfolding chaos with a mix of fear and fascination. At 35, she was one of the leading experts in theoretical physics, though few knew the true extent of her genius. Sarah had always kept a low profile, preferring to work behind the scenes. As alarms blared and her colleagues ran for the emergency bunkers, Sarah remained calm. She quickly gathered her research materials and a small, seemingly innocuous device she had been working on in secret. Dr. Chen, we need to evacuate now. Her assistant, Tom, shouted from the doorway. Sarah nodded, her face a mask of determination. Go ahead, Tom. I'll be right behind you. As soon as Tom left, Sarah activated the device. It emitted a soft, pulsing blue light. She smiled slightly, knowing that this little invention might just be humanity's ace in the hole. Suddenly, the building shook violently. The alien forces had arrived. Sarah could hear the sound of strange weapons firing and the screams of her colleagues. She took a deep breath and steeled herself for what was to come. The door to her lab burst open, revealing two towering alien soldiers. Their armor was sleek and otherworldly, covered in pulsing lights and strange symbols. They pointed their weapons at Sarah, who raised her hand slowly. Please, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Don't shoot. I'm just a scientist. The aliens looked at each other, then back at Sarah. One of them spoke, its voice translated through a device on its suit. Human female. Non-threatening. Capture for study. As they approached her, Sarah allowed herself to be taken. She knew that appearing weak and scared was her best chance at survival. Little did the aliens know, they had just captured potentially the most dangerous human on the planet. Meanwhile, Zarkon watched the invasion unfold from his command ship. Cities fell one by one, world leaders surrendered or were captured, and Earth's mightiest armies crumbled before the alien onslaught. Pathetic, Zarkon muttered. I expected at least some challenge. These humans are even weaker than we thought. Vexilor approached with a report. Commander, we've begun rounding up human specimens for study. Our scientists are particularly interested in their neural patterns. Zarkon nodded absently. Very well. Make sure to collect a diverse sample. We might as well learn something from this pitiful species before we put them to work in our minds. As the day wore on, the alien invasion proved to be as swift as it was brutal. Humanity, despite its best efforts, was simply outmatched by the advanced technology and overwhelming force of the Zarkonian elite. By nightfall, major cities around the world were under alien control. Pockets of human resistance remained, but they were scattered and disorganized. The armies of Earth lay in ruins, their most powerful weapons rendered useless against the invaders' superior defenses. Yet, amidst the chaos and despair, a spark of hope remained. In a holding cell aboard one of the alien ships, Sarah Chen sat quietly, her mind racing with calculations and plans. The aliens had taken her device, but they hadn't recognized its true purpose or potential. As she heard the aliens outside discussing their easy victory, Sarah allowed herself a small, secretive smile. The Zarkonian elite had made a crucial mistake. They had gravely underestimated humanity, and especially her. Little did they know, their so-called easy conquest was about to become a lot more complicated. The first day of the invasion was over, but Sarah knew that the real battle was just beginning. Humanity's future now rested on her shoulders, and she was ready for the challenge. Sarah Chen sat quietly in the holding cell of the alien ship. The cold, metallic walls seemed to close in around her, but she remained calm. Her mind was racing, taking in every detail of her surroundings. The aliens had taken her device, but they hadn't found the tiny microchip hidden in the sole of her shoe. It was her secret weapon, and they had no idea. Outside her cell, 2 Zarkonian guards stood watch. They spoke in their strange, clicking language, occasionally glancing at Sarah with their large compound eyes. Sarah pretended to cower in fear, but she was listening intently, trying to pick up any information she could. Suddenly, the door slid open with a hiss. Commander Zarkon himself stepped into the room, his imposing figure filling the doorway. The guards snapped to attention. "So this is one of the human scientists." Zarkon's voice was deep and full of contempt. He looked at Sarah as if she were an insect. Sarah played her part perfectly. She trembled and backed away, her eyes wide with fear. Please," she stammered. "I'm just a researcher. I don't know anything important." Zarkon laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the small cell. "Of course you don't, little human. Your entire species knows nothing of importance." He turned to one of the guards. "Bring her to the examination room. Let's see what we can learn from this primitive creature." As Sarah was led through the winding corridors of the ship, she took mental notes of everything she saw. The layout, the technology, the number of guards. Every piece of information could be crucial later. The examination room was a nightmare of alien technology. Strange machines hummed and pulsed with eerie light. In the center stood a metal table with restraints. "Lie down," one of the guards ordered, pushing Sarah towards the table. Sarah complied, her heart racing. As the restraints clicked into place, she forced herself to remain calm. This was her chance to gather more information. A Zarkonian scientist approached, holding a device that looked like a cross between a scanner and a torture instrument. "This won't hurt," he said, his tone making it clear he didn't care if it did. Much. As the device hummed to life, Sarah felt a strange tingling sensation in her head. Images flashed before her eyes. Memories, knowledge, fears. The aliens were scanning her brain. But Sarah had a secret. Years ago, she had developed a technique to compartmentalize her mind, to hide certain thoughts and memories behind mental walls. Now she put that technique to use, showing the aliens only what she wanted them to see. Hours passed. Sarah endured test after test, each one more invasive than the last. Blood samples, tissue samples, stress tests. The aliens were thorough in their examination. Finally, exhausted and sore, Sarah was returned to her cell. As the door closed behind her, she allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had learned nothing of real value, while she had gathered crucial intelligence. In the command center of the ship, Zarkon reviewed the results of Sarah's examination. "Well?" he demanded of the chief scientist. "What did you learn?" The scientist looked puzzled. "It's strange, Commander. By all accounts, this human is utterly ordinary. Average intelligence, no special abilities. Yet what?" Zarkon snapped. "There's something off. Like we're missing something important." Zarkon waved his hand dismissively. Nonsense. These humans are simple creatures. Continue with the other subjects. I want this planet's resources harvested as quickly as possible. As Zarkon turned away, he failed to notice the flicker of doubt in the scientist's eyes. Back in her cell, Sarah closed her eyes, focusing on the microchip in her shoe. With a series of blinks, a code she had developed, she activated the chip. It began to emit a signal undetectable to the aliens' technology. Miles away, in a hidden bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a computer sprang to life. A message appeared on the screen. Phase 1 complete. Commencing Phase 2. Sarah lay back on the hard bench in her cell, allowing herself to truly rest for the first time since the invasion began. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, perhaps impossible. But she also knew something the aliens didn't. Humanity's strength lay not in its technology or its weapons, but in its spirit, its ability to adapt and overcome. As she drifted off to sleep, Sarah smiled again. The aliens thought they had captured a weak, frightened scientist. In reality, they had just invited their most dangerous enemy right into the heart of their operation. The Zarkonian elite had no idea what was coming. Days passed on the alien ship. Sarah Chen, to all outward appearances, was just another frightened human captive. The Zarkonian guards barely paid attention to her anymore, seeing her as harmless and weak. But behind her meek facade, Sarah's brilliant mind was hard at work. Every night, when the ship's lights dimmed to simulate Earth's day-night cycle, Sarah closed her eyes and activated her hidden microchip. She sent coded messages to the secret bunker on Earth, sharing what she had learned about the alien technology and their plans. One night, as Sarah lay on her hard bunk pretending to sleep, she heard the guards talking outside her cell. "Did you hear? Commander Zarkon is not happy," one guard said in their clicking language. "Why?" "We conquered this planet easily," the other replied. "Yes, but the humans are troublesome. They keep resisting in small ways. It's like trying to hold water in your hands." Sarah suppressed a smile. Her messages were getting through. Humanity was fighting back. The next day, Sarah was taken to work in one of the ship's lower levels. The aliens had put the captured humans to work on menial tasks, not trusting them with anything important. Sarah was assigned to clean the floors of a storage area filled with alien technology. As she pushed her mop across the floor, Sarah's eyes darted from one strange device to another. Her eidetic memory, a secret she had kept hidden her whole life, allowed her to memorize every detail. Suddenly, she stumbled, accidentally knocking over a small device. As she fumbled to pick it up, she quickly examined it. It was some kind of energy modulator, she realized. Her mind raced with the possibilities. "Careful, human," a guard snapped, snatching the device away. "These are not for you to touch." "I'm sorry," Sarah whimpered, looking appropriately scared and sorry. "It won't happen again." But the damage, or rather, the advantage, was done. Sarah now understood a crucial component of the aliens' technology. That night, her message to the bunker was longer than usual. "Energy modulation is key," she wrote in code. "Their weapons, shields, even ship propulsion, all based on quantum energy modulation. Find a way to disrupt it." Weeks passed. Sarah continued her act, playing the part of a broken, submissive human. But all the while, she was gathering information, piecing together the aliens' weaknesses. She learned that the Zarkonians were not used to Earth's bacteria. Several aliens had fallen ill, their immune systems unprepared for terrestrial microbes. Sarah filed this information away, seeing potential for biological warfare. She also noticed that the aliens struggled in Earth's gravity, which was stronger than their homeworlds. Their movements were slower, more labored than they should be, another weakness to exploit. One day, Commander Zarkon himself came to inspect the human workers. Sarah kept her head down, but her ears were open. "These humans are pathetic," Zarkon sneered to his second-in-command. "Look at how easily they accepted defeat. No spirit, no fight." "But sir," The subordinate replied, "Our patrols on the surface report increasing resistance. Small attacks, sabotage, disappearing supplies. It's becoming problematic." Zarkon waved a dismissive hand. "Insects causing minor irritations. Nothing more. Once we finish harvesting this planet's resources, we'll be gone. Let them have their little rebellions." As they walked away, Sarah allowed herself a small, secret smile. The aliens' arrogance was their biggest weakness of all. That night, Sarah sent her most important message yet. "Plan is working. Aliens underestimate us. Prepare for Phase 3. In the hidden bunker on Earth, a team of scientists and military strategists huddled around a computer, decoding Sarah's message. As they read, their eyes widened. "It's time," the lead scientist said. "Alert all resistance cells. Operation Trojan Horse begins now." Back on the ship, Sarah lay on her bunk, her mind racing with plans and possibilities. The aliens thought they had captured a weak, ordinary human. They had no idea that they had taken on board the architect of their downfall. As she drifted off to sleep, Sarah's last thought was of Earth, of humanity. "Hold on," she whispered to herself. "We're not beaten yet. Not by a long shot." The Zarkonian elite were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate your enemy, especially when that enemy is human. Sarah Chen sat in the corner of the alien ship's cafeteria, her eyes downcast as she picked at her food. To anyone watching, she looked like just another defeated human. But her mind was racing, putting the final touches on her daring plan. Across the table sat Tom, her former assistant from the research facility. He had been captured in the initial invasion and assigned to the same work detail as Sarah. Little did the aliens know, Tom was also part of the resistance. "It's almost time," Sarah whispered, her lips barely moving. "Are you ready?" Tom gave an almost imperceptible nod. "The others are in position. We're just waiting for your signal." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Over the past weeks, she had secretly organized a network of human prisoners, each playing a crucial role in her plan. It was time to show the Zarkonians what humans were really capable of. Later that night, as the ship's systems powered down for the nocturnal cycle, Sarah put her plan into action. She activated her hidden microchip, sending a series of coded pulses throughout the ship. To the alien systems, it looked like nothing more than background noise. But to the humans waiting and watching, it was the signal they had been waiting for. In the engine room, a human worker accidentally spilled a container of cleaning fluid into a crucial system. Alarms blared as the ship's power fluctuated. In the medical bay, another member of Sarah's network quietly adjusted the settings on the air filtration system, releasing a specially prepared mix of Earth bacteria into the air. And in the security center, Tom used the distraction to gain access to the ship's computer systems. His fingers flew over the alien keyboard, uploading a virus Sarah had designed. As chaos erupted throughout the ship, Sarah made her move. She slipped out of her cell, using the access code she had memorized over weeks of careful observation. Her destination, the lab where her device was being stored. Zarkon's voice boomed over the ship's intercom. "All personnel, battle stations, this is not a drill. We are under attack." Sarah couldn't help but smile. The Zarkonians thought they were under attack from outside. They had no idea the real threat was already inside their ship. She reached the lab and quickly located her device. It looked insignificant, just a small metal box with a few blinking lights. But in Sarah's hands, it was the key to humanity's survival. As she worked to reactivate the device, the door to the lab slid open. Sarah spun around, her heart pounding, to find herself face to face with a Zarkonian scientist. For a moment, they both froze. Then Sarah did something that shocked even her. She spoke in perfect Zarkonian. "Your arrogance will be your downfall," she said, her voice steady. "You thought humans were weak. You were wrong." The scientist's compound eyes widened in shock. Before he could react, Sarah activated her device. A pulse of energy shot out, and the scientist crumpled to the floor, unconscious. Sarah took a deep breath. Phase 1 of her plan was complete. Now came the hard part. She made her way to the ship's bridge, using the confusion and chaos as cover. Human prisoners were fighting back all over the ship, using improvised weapons and sheer determination to overwhelm their captors. On the bridge, she found Zarkon barking orders, trying to regain control of his ship. He turned as Sarah entered, his eyes narrowing in recognition. "You," he snarled. "The weak human scientist. What are you doing here?" Sarah held up her device, showing you how wrong you were about humans, Commander. She activated the device once more. This time, a massive energy pulse swept through the entire ship. Alien technology flickered and died, their quantum-based systems disrupted by Sarah's ingenious invention. Zarkon lunged at her, but without his technology, he was slow and clumsy in Earth's gravity. Sarah easily sidestepped him. "It's over, Commander," she said. "Your invasion has failed." As if on cue, the ship shuddered. Through the view screen, Sarah could see Earth fighters approaching. The Resistance had launched their counterattack. Zarkon stared at her in disbelief. "How?" he demanded. "You're just human." Sarah smiled. "That's right. We're human, and you should have never underestimated us." As human forces boarded the ship, Sarah sent one last message to the bunker on Earth. Phase 3 complete. Humanity fights back. The tide had turned. The battle for Earth had truly begun. And thanks to Sarah's brilliant plan, humanity now had a fighting chance. The Zarkonian mothership shuddered as explosions rocked its hull. Alarms blared, bathing the corridors in pulsing red light. In the chaos, Sarah Chen led a group of freed human prisoners through the winding passageways. Her device, now strapped to her wrist, emitted a soft blue glow. "This way," she shouted, gesturing towards a large hangar bay. "We need to secure their fighters." Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed. Human resistance fighters, armed with stolen Zarkonian weapons, clashed with the alien guards. The element of surprise had given the humans an early advantage, but Sarah knew it wouldn't last long. In the hangar, rows of sleek alien fighters stood ready. Sarah turned to Tom, who had become her right-hand man in this uprising. "Can you fly one of these?" she asked. Tom grinned, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "I've been studying their controls for weeks. Just give me a minute to figure it out." As Tom and a few others worked on the fighters, Sarah used her device to access the hangar's control systems. With a few quick commands, she opened the massive bay doors. The void of space loomed before them, Earth a beautiful blue marble in the distance. Suddenly, a squad of Zarkonian soldiers burst into the hangar, their weapons charged. "Stop them," their leader shouted. "Don't let the humans escape." Sarah spun around, her device at the ready. She pressed a button, and a wave of energy pulsed out. The aliens' weapons sputtered and died in their hands. "Now," Sarah yelled. The human fighters opened fire with their stolen guns, forcing the Zarkonians to take cover. Tom's voice crackled over a communication device. "I've got it, Sarah. The fighters are ready." As the humans piled into the alien ships, Sarah felt a moment of triumph, but she knew this was just the beginning. In the command center of the mothership, Commander Zarkon watched the unfolding chaos with a mix of rage and disbelief. His subordinates scrambled around him, trying to regain control of the situation. "How is this possible?" Zarkon roared. "They're just humans. Primitive, weak humans." His second-in-command, Vexlor, approached cautiously. "Sir, we've underestimated them. That scientist, Sarah Chen, she's not what she seemed. Our reports show she's behind this uprising." Zarkon's eyes narrowed. "Find her. Bring her to me, alive." As the stolen fighters streaked out of the hangar, Sarah felt a moment of exhilaration. They were free of the mothership, but the real battle was just beginning. She activated her communication device, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Attention, people of Earth. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, The time has come to fight back. The Zarkonians are not invincible. Their technology can be beaten. Rise up. Take back our planet. All across the globe, her message was heard. In conquered cities, humans emerged from hiding, armed with whatever weapons they could find. They attacked alien patrols, sabotaged equipment, and freed more prisoners. In orbit, the stolen fighters engaged with Zarkonian ships. Though outnumbered, the human pilots fought with a ferocity that surprised their alien opponents. Sarah's device, replicated and distributed to the fighters, gave them the edge they needed, disrupting the aliens' advanced targeting systems. Back on the mothership, Zarkon watched the battle unfold with growing horror. Reports flooded in from Earth, human uprisings in every major city, alien strongholds falling one by one. "Impossible," he muttered. "How could we have misjudged them so badly?" In her fighter, Sarah coordinated the attack. Her mind raced with calculations and strategies. She had studied the Zarkonians' tactics, their weaknesses. Now she put that knowledge to use. "Squadron A, target their communication arrays," she ordered. "Squadron B, focus on their engine cores." The human fighters moved with precision, striking at the Zarkonian fleet's vulnerabilities. Alien ships began to fall, their once impenetrable defenses crumbling under the assault. As the battle raged, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Zarkonians had thought humans were weak, easy prey. They had expected a simple conquest. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. The uprising had begun. Humanity, with all its determination, creativity, and resilience, was fighting back. And for the first time since the invasion, the aliens knew fear. Sarah looked out at the stars, her eyes blazing with determination. "This is for Earth," she whispered, "for humanity." The final battle for their world had begun. And Sarah Chen, once underestimated and overlooked, now led the charge that would determine the fate of her species. The sky above Earth was alight with explosions as human and Zarkonian ships clashed in a fierce battle. Sarah Chen, piloting a stolen alien fighter, weaved through the chaos, her eyes focused on the massive Zarkonian mothership looming ahead. "All squadrons, report in," Sarah called over the comm system. "Squadron A, standing by," Tom's voice crackled through. "Squadron B, ready and waiting," another pilot responded. Sarah took a deep breath. "Remember the plan. We need to disable their main weapons and shields. Use the disruptor devices. May luck be with us all." With that, Sarah pushed her fighter into a steep dive, leading the charge towards the mothership. Zarkonian fighters swarmed around them, their energy weapons lighting up the black of space. Inside the mothership, Commander Zarkon watched the approaching human fleet with a mix of rage and disbelief. "How dare they?" he snarled. "These primitive creatures think they can defeat us." His second-in-command, Vexlor, approached cautiously. "Sir, our outer defenses are failing. The humans, they're using our own technology against us." Zarkon's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. How could they have mastered our quantum modulation so quickly?" On the main view screen, a familiar face appeared. Sarah Chen, her eyes blazing with determination, stared back at the Zarkonian commander. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth," she announced. "Your invasion has failed. Commander Zarkon, surrender now or face the consequences." Zarkon laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the command center. "You fool. You think your little uprising scares us. We are the Zarkonian elite. We have conquered galaxies." Sarah's expression didn't waver. "Then you've never faced humans before. This is your last warning." The transmission cut off. Zarkon turned to his crew. "Charge the main cannon. We'll show these humans the true power of the Zarkonian Empire." Outside, Sarah's fighter led the attack on the mothership's main weapon array. Her device, now linked to the fighter's systems, pulsed with energy. As they approached, the massive cannon began to glow, preparing to fire. "Now," Sarah shouted. All at once, the human fighters activated their disruptor devices. A wave of energy washed over the mothership. The cannon's glow flickered and died. Inside, Zarkon stumbled as the ship's systems went haywire. "What's happening?" he demanded. Vexilor's hands flew over the controls. "Our weapons are offline. Shields at 20% and falling. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Sarah's voice came over the ship's speakers. "That was our first strike, Zarkon." Surprised. "You should have studied Earth's history. We humans have a long tradition of turning our enemy's strength against them." As Zarkon sputtered in rage, Sarah led the next phase of the attack. Human fighters swarmed the mothership, targeting key systems with precision strikes. On Earth's surface, resistance fighters launched coordinated attacks on alien ground forces, who found their advanced weapons suddenly useless. The tide of the battle was turning. Zarkonian ships, once seemingly invincible, began to fall. Human determination, combined with Sarah's brilliant strategy and technology, was proving more than a match for the alien invaders. But victory was not yet certain. Zarkon, realizing the dire situation, made a desperate move. "Prepare for emergency quantum jump," he ordered. "We'll retreat and return with reinforcements." Sarah, monitoring the mothership's communications, realized their plan. "Oh no, you don't," she muttered. She keyed her comm. "All fighters, focus fire on their engine cores. We can't let them escape." The battle intensified. Human fighters darted around the mothership, dodging return fire as they targeted the massive engines. Sarah's fighter took a hit, alarms blaring in her cockpit, but she pushed on. Inside the mothership, systems were failing across the board. Zarkon watched in horror as his mighty ship, pride of the Zarkonian fleet, was being taken apart by the very creatures he had dismissed as primitive. "Sir," Vexilor said, his voice shaking, "we've lost engine control. Quantum jump is impossible. We're losing." Zarkon's face contorted with rage. "No, I won't accept defeat at the hands of these humans." Outside, Sarah saw her chance. The mothership's defenses were down. Its weapons were offline. Victory was within grasp, but she knew the cost of continuing the fight would be high. She opened a channel to the mothership. "Commander Zarkon, your ship is crippled. Your forces are in retreat. Surrender now, and we'll spare your lives. Continue to fight, and we'll have no choice but to destroy you utterly. What's your decision?" The fate of the battle, of the entire war, hung in the balance. Sarah held her breath, waiting for the response that would determine the future of both their species. Silence filled the vast expanse of space as everyone awaited Zarkon's response. Sarah Chen, her hand steady on the controls of her fighter, held her breath. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. Finally, Zarkon's voice crackled over the comm system. "You dare to offer us mercy?" He snarled. "We are the Zarkonian elite. We do not surrender to lesser beings." Sarah's heart sank. She had hoped to end this without further bloodshed. "So be it," she said quietly. Then, to her squadrons, "All units, prepare for final assault." But before the human forces could attack, something unexpected happened. A new voice came over the Zarkonian channel. "This is Sub-Commander Vexilor," the voice said. "Commander Zarkon no longer speaks for the Zarkonian forces. We surrender." A cheer erupted from the human fighters. Sarah allowed herself a small smile, but she knew the battle wasn't over yet. "Vexilor, power down all your remaining weapons and prepare to be boarded." Inside the Zarkonian mothership, chaos reigned. Zarkon, his face contorted with rage, lunged at Vexilor. "Traitor," he roared. "I'll destroy you myself." But the other Zarkonians on the bridge moved to restrain their former commander. They had seen the futility of continuing the fight. More than that, they had seen the error of their ways in underestimating humanity. As human forces boarded the mothership, Sarah led the way, her disruptor device at the ready. They encountered little resistance. Most of the Zarkonians had laid down their weapons, looking lost and defeated. In the command center, Sarah came face to face with Zarkon for the first time. The alien commander, once so proud and arrogant, was now restrained by his own troops. His eyes burned with hatred as he looked at Sarah. "You," he spat. "How? How did you defeat us?" Sarah stood tall, her voice steady. "You made a crucial mistake, Zarkon. You judged us by our technology, our apparent physical weakness. But humanity's strength isn't in our muscles or our weapons. It's in our minds, our adaptability, our unwillingness to give up even in the face of overwhelming odds." She stepped closer, looking the alien commander in the eye. "You thought we were weak because we're not conquerors. But our history is filled with stories of overcoming impossible challenges. When you attacked us, you didn't find an easy target. You awakened a sleeping giant." Vexlor approached, his head bowed. "Dr. Chen, on behalf of the Zarkonian people, I offer our unconditional surrender. We have much to learn from humans, it seems." Over the next few hours, the news spread across Earth. The alien invaders had been defeated. Humanity had triumphed against all odds. Celebrations erupted in every city, every village, as people emerged from hiding to reclaim their world. Sarah, exhausted but elated, made her way to the mothership's communication center. She opened a channel to Earth, her image broadcasted to screens all over the planet. "People of Earth," she began, her voice filled with emotion. "Today, we have won our freedom. The Zarkonian invasion has been defeated, not just by our weapons or our strategy, but by the indomitable spirit of humanity. We faced an enemy far more technologically advanced than us, and we not only survived, we triumphed." She paused, looking at the camera with determination. "But our work is not done. We have a chance now not just to rebuild, but to forge a new path. We've seen the wonders and the dangers the universe holds. Let this be the dawn of a new era for humanity, an era of exploration, of pushing our boundaries, of reaching for the stars not to conquer, but to learn and grow." As Sarah's speech concluded, cheers erupted around the world. In the aftermath of the invasion, humanity found itself unified as never before. The Zarkonian technology, now in human hands, opened up new frontiers of scientific discovery. In the months that followed, Sarah led the efforts to establish peaceful relations with the defeated Zarkonians. Many of the aliens, freed from their culture of conquest, proved eager to learn from the humans they had once dismissed as primitive. And as Earth took its first steps into the galactic community, a new legend spread across the stars. The legend of the humans, the underestimated species that had defeated the mighty Zarkonian Empire. It served as a reminder to never judge a species by its apparent weaknesses, for in those very weaknesses might lie their greatest strengths. Sarah Chen, once an overlooked scientist, now stood as a symbol of humanity's potential. As she looked up at the stars, no longer a barrier but a beckoning frontier, she smiled. The future was bright, and humanity was ready to face whatever challenges it might bring.